Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Dr. Pir Bashmaksi, Professor of the ENT. Now, today we'll discuss the sinusitis. Now, as you know, the sinuses are the air-containing cavities in the skeleton of the face. And there are certain pairs of the sinuses. One is the frontal sinus, second one is the maxillary sinus, which is present in the body of the maxilla. Third one is the ethmoid sinus, which is present at the medial canthus of the eyebrows, and fourth one is present in the body of the sphenoid bone, that is the sphenoid sinus. Now, these sinuses, frontal sinus, which is present in the body of the frontal bone, this is the frontal sinus, and this is the maxillary sinus. And here you will find there are the ethmoidal air cells. Behind it, in the body of the sphenoid bone, you have the sphenoid sinus. Now, the main function of these sinuses is the ventilation and drainage. Ventilation and drainage. You will find these two words throughout your pathology, treatment, and the pathogenesis. So these two terms, ventilation and aeration, is very, very important for the pathogenesis of the sinuses. Number two, the medico-legal importance of these sinuses, that one, the frontal sinus, the maxillary sinus, the ethmoid sinus, and the sphenoid sinus, they have certain medico-legal importance. Like the maxillary sinus, it is present during the birth, and when you take the X-ray at the age of the 6th month, it will appear over the X-ray, and it will show the age of the child. It is about 6 months or below 6 months. Then you have the ethmoidal air cells over the medial canthi of the or the labyrinth of the ethmoid bone. They appear over the 1 year of the age, and if you take the X-ray, that will appear on the X-rays as well. So it will show the age of the child of the 1 year. Then the frontal sinus, which appears at the age of the 6 years on the radiological evidence. Then the sphenoid sinus in the body of the sphenoid bone, it appears at the age of the 4. So it has certain medico-legal importance. Then the physiological function of these sinus, exactly the functions of these sinuses, we don't know. But there are certain theories that they keep the light of the skull very well. And they, because you know the skeleton is about 1.2 kg, so they keep the weight of these skeleton very light, so you cannot feel anything. Number two, their purpose is also to keep the eyes, their weight very low, and because of presence of the air over the medial canthus of the eye palm. Then it also helps in the phonation. When you are talking or you are speaking, they also help. Then it has certain functions or the humidification of the air, because they have the larger surface areas. So they provide the humidification, means they add the water into the drying air which is incoming from the external environment. So these are certain functions of these sinuses, and they have the medico legal importance. Now this one is the picture. You will see the frontal sinus, which is present in the frontal bone, and it opens into the middle meatus. This is your middle meatus, where it opens through the duct, the frontonasal duct. Now this one is the sphenoid sinus. This is very, very important. It is rarely affected in case of the sinusitis, but once it is affected, then it has very dangerous consequences, because over here you will find the three nerves, that is the third, fourth, and sixth cranial nerves, and on the lateral side you have the cavernous sinuses also there. Sometimes you'll find the cavernous thrombosis also. So this for the complications of the sinusitis, the sphenoid sinus is very, very important because of the presence of the certain structures over the lateral wall. Among them is the cavernous sinus. Now this is the nasal cavity. You will see in sinusitis, major culprit is the nasal cavity because of presence of their cilia. Due to certain disease like the air pollutant, the moist, dry air, which where the cilia does not work. When the cilia does not work, the whatever the secretion which are present in the nasal cavity does not move toward the nasopharynx. so it get stagnated. So stagnation of these secretions invites the bacteria and causes the rhinitis followed by the sinusitis. So this is the main culprit, that is nasal cavity having the cilia. So pathology of the sinus, it depends upon the ciliary work of the nasal cavity. If cilia is moving toward the nasal cavity, toward the nasopharynx, and keeping all the mucous membrane, all the mucous secretion toward the nasopharynx, then there is no disease. But there, even there's dysfunction of the cilia, so due to certain known reasons like the DNA polyp or the air pollutant or dry air, then cilia does not work, so causes stagnation of secretion. So you will find this nasal cavity having the superior turbinate, middle turbinate, and the inferior turbinate. Above the superior turbinate, you have the olfactory area where you have the sense of the smell. Now this one is the nasopharynx, which is very important. And this is the opening of the eustachian tube. Below it, we have the tonsil and the oropharynx, epiglottis. Now this is the soft palate. So the area which we are now concerned will be the frontal sinus, sphenoid sinus, nasal cavity, and the nasopharynx, because of the constant tippling of this nasopharyngeal mucosa also causes certain diseases. So the important things here is the nasal cavity, cilia, and under the cilia you have the mucous membrane. So two pathologies, one when the cilia does not work, or when there is the spread of disease submucosally, submucosal lymphatic channels. Submucosal lymphatic channels, you note down please two things. One is the cilia, which causes pathology. Number two, the spread of disease due to the submucosal lymphatic channels, which causes the main source of the inflammation or main source of the spread of disease from nasal cavity toward the sinus, even toward the larynx, and causes the laryngitis. So two pathologies: ciliary dysmotility, and number two, the spread of the disease due to submucosal lymphatic channels. Submucosal lymphatic channels. Now you know the sinuses. What are the sinuses? The one is the frontal sinus, which we have discussed, which was present in the frontal bone. Second was the maxillary sinus, which are present in the maxillary bone. Third was ethmoid, which is present between the eyes and nose. And fourth one is sphenoid sinus, which is present in the body of the sphenoid bone. Now, this frontal sinus appears at the age of the 6 years. This maxillary sinus is present during birth, but radiologically it is present at the age of the 6 months. Third is ethmoid sinus, which is present during the birth but appears on the X-ray at the age of 1 year. Sphenoid sinus, which is not present during the birth. So sphenoid sinus and the frontal sinus, these are not present during the birth. But the maxillary sinus and ethmoid sinus, these are present during the birth, but they appear on the X-ray. Maxillary sinus at the age of the 6 month, and ethmoid sinus at the age of the 1 year. So these have the medico-legal importance. Very, very important for the medico-legal purpose. Now this the certain function, the sinuses are the air containing cavities in the body of the maxilla, the ethmoid bone, and the frontal bone and the sphenoid bone. So these are the sinuses, hollow air filled sacs lined by the mucous membrane, and the mucous membrane of the sinus differs from the mucous membrane of the nasal cavity, because the mucous membrane of the sinus is very thin, lined by the ciliated columnar epithelium, whereas the mucous membrane of the nasal cavity is very thick and it is lined by the again the cilia and the ciliated columnar epithelium. So this is the ethmoid sinus, maxillary sinus. Both ethmoid and maxillary sinus, these are present during the birth. But radiologically, when you take the X-ray, you will find the ethmoid age of the 1 year and age of the 6 months, both the ethmoid and maxillary. Frontal sinus develops late but appear in the X-ray during the 6 years of age. Now, these sinuses have certain osteas are opening. Ostea means opening. Ostea means opening. which opens into the meatai. Meatai means the recess or the excavation or the furrow under the turbinate. You have the three turbinates which we have discussed: superior turbinate, middle turbinate, and the inferior turbinate. Now, underneath of the superior turbinate, you have the superior meatai. Underneath of the middle turbinate, you have middle meatus, and underneath of the inferior turbinate, you have inferior meatai. So all these sinuses opens into these meatai, and these meatai are covered by turbinates. Turbinate is the covering of the meatai. Now, these turbinates consist of the bony shell surrounded by the erectile soft tissues. Now, these erectile soft tissues, they have their definite function. Now, suppose the dry air is entering into the nasal cavity, then these erectile tissues becomes edematous and does not allow the dry air to enter into lung. So, it is humidified by these erectile tissues to give the humidification to the incoming air. But suppose air cavity is very much nasal cavity very much roomy, then these electrode tissue they become swollen and make the passage very narrow for the incoming air. So they just, you can say, humidified or air condition of the air. If air is very dry, they become very moist. If the air is very moist, then become dry. So the air is kept very normal for the alveoli of the lung to function. So there are three turbinates and three meatai. Now for the frontal sinus, it opens into the middle meatus, and for the sphenoid sinus, it opens into the sphenoid recess, and for the maxillary sinus, it also opens into the middle meatus, and for ethmoid sinus, it also opens to the superior meatus and middle meatus. So these are the ostia means opening. Now at birth, the ethmoid, sphenoid, and big sinus are tiny and cause problems in infants and toddlers. Frontal sinus develop between 4 to 7 years of age, causing problems in school age children and adolescents. Now this is how the sinusitis to develop. Means what is the etiology of the sinusitis and what is sinusitis. Now frontal sinus, this is the normal frontal sinus, this is inflamed frontal sinus. Normal mixed sinus, this is inflamed mixed. Now the sinusitis means the inflammation of the mucous membrane of the sinus. The definition of the sinusitis is the inflammation of the mucous membrane of the sinus. When the bony cage of the sinus is involved, it is the complication. When sinusitis only confined to the mucous membrane, it is sinusitis. When it leaves its confines involving the bony walls, it is not sinusitis, but it is some sort of the complications. Now the etiology of the sinusitis, if you see, this is the maxillary sinus. Now maxillary sinus has even opening which opens into the middle meatus. But it's ostia the higher position, it is upward position for the ostium because of the drainage. Because this floor of the maxillary sinus lies at the level of the teeth, and the ostium lies just on the upper side. So it is very difficult for the secretion to go toward the ostium. So these are the ciliary movement, because in the maxillary sinus you have the cilia which move the secretions from the cilia, from the maxillary sinus toward the ostium, and from the ostium toward the nasal cavity. Now what happens during the inspiration? Negative pressure is created into the nasal cavity, say about the -4 to -200 of the water. So it, whatever the air which is present in the maxillary sinus or secretion, they get down into the nasal cavity during the inspiration. During the expiration, positive pressure is created, so that will take the air inside the your maxillary sinus. So sinuses are aerated during the expiration, and they get drainage during the inspiration. So ventilation is during expiration, and drainage is during inspiration because of the negative pressure. So these are the two themes which we will discuss, how the sinusitis to develop. Now, two things in the nasal cavity. One is the cilia. Cilia is very important. So etiology of the sinusitis, suppose there is a dry air, pollutant air, and it must feel is very dry one, and environment is very dirty, like then the industrial areas, or where you are lying in the flats where humidification is much more, or where you are residing into the bus stop where the fumes of vehicles are in abundant amount. So what happens when these things enter into the nasal cavity? They causes the dysfunction of the cilia. So cilia does not work very well. So when they does not work well, they does not cause the flow of the secretion from the nasal cavity to the nasopharynx. So there is stagnation of the secretion into nasal cavity. Now this stagnation of secretion blocks the ostia, blocks the pathway of the maxillary sinus. Maxillary sinus का pathway जो है बंद हो जाएगा due to the dysciliary movement. So this pathway is blocked, and then stagnation of the cilia into the maxillary sinus or the parental sinus causes the maxillary sinusitis and the parental sinusitis. So one of the exciting factor for the sinusitis is the air pollutant, which causes the ill motility of the cilia. Number two, when there is the precipitating factors, like when there's a DNS there, deflect nasal septum, which also causes the blockage of the ostium of the maxillary sinus or the parental sinus. So the number three, the polyp. When you find there's a polyp, also this causes the stagnation of secretion. So main pathology is the stagnation of the secretion, whatever the etiology is, whether it is environmental or present inside the nasal cavity. So that causes the sinusitis, the maxillary sinusitis, and the parental sinusitis. So reason behind the maxillary sinusitis. This was maxillary sinusitis. One is the precipitating factor. That is the one, the air pollutants are there, or when there is the air is very much more dry, air is there, are certain factors which are present inside the nasal cavity, like DNase and the polyp, which causes the sinusitis. Now once there is the sinusitis of the maxillary area, now the sign symptoms will be, number first, there is the pain over the body of the maxilla. A patient will come with the facial pain. This is the first presentation of the sinusitis. Facial pain or pain over the face. Number two, patient has the swelling of the lower eyelid because it's just near to the maxillary sinus. So patient is presented, number first, the pain over the maxillary area or body of maxilla. Number two, the nasal stiffness. Nasal stiffness, this is nasal cavity, because of the nasal congestion, because of the dysmotility of cilia, stagnation of secretion into the nasal cavity also causes the stiffness of nasal cavity. So patient is presented in case of acute sinusitis or mixed area. Number first, the pain and the body of maxilla. Number two, the stiffness of the nasal cavity. Nasal obstructions will be there. Now, due to nasal obstruction, air into the ethmoid area is blocked, which causes the smell. There's the loss of the smell because of edema of the mucous membrane of nasal cavity. So these are the symptoms where you will find the pain over the body of maxilla. Number two, the congestion or the discomfort into nasal cavity. And number third, there is the edema of the over eye lid or the pain over the eye lid. Now, if you see as a surgeon, what will be the signs? Now, the signs will be if you tape over the body of maxilla, patient will feel pain. Pain will be exaggerated during the taping over the body of maxilla. Or number two, when you will tape the upper teeth, if you put the spatula and strike over the lower teeth, patient will feel the pain. That is the major sign. By putting the spatula over the upper teeth or by striking the over the body of maxilla, patient will feel the pain. Number two, if you look into the nasal cavity is much more congested and it is very red and velvet in color. These are the two sure signs. Number third sign is the post-nasal drip. If you put the spatula into the oral cavity and put the tongue downward, you see the streak of the secretion over the posterior pharyngeal wall. And so these are the three signs. Now another symptom for the maxillary sinus is the aphesis headache. Aphesis headache. So these are the certain. Now then, how you will treat this maxillary sinusitis? Now patient is presented with the pain over the body of maxilla, nasal stiffness, The sense of smell is impaired. Now, in that condition, because this is the acute stage, and acute stage usually it is viral followed by the your bacterial infections, and pain is exaggerated during stooping. When you ask the patient to stoop, or the patient also say when I am giving the prostration for the namaz, then he will feel the much more pain. So how you will relieve that pain? So first you have to put the patient over the nasal decongestant. Nasal decongestant is very important to get down the nasal ciliary movement into the normal pathway. So nasal decongestant to open the ostia or the opening of the mixed sinus to get all the secretion from the mixed sinus into the nasal cavity. So foremost and first is the putting the nasal decongestant into the nasal cavity. Nasal decongestant into the nasal cavity. And second one is then you have put the patient over the certain antibiotics. Penicillin is much more because here staphylococcal aureus is much more involved. Now, before that one, you also go for the investigation. The investigation here will be the radiological to go for the X-ray, PNS, paranasal sinus waters view. This is one of the X-ray, paranasal sinus waters view. Now, this waters we will show all the paranasal sinuses. Now, if there's no subside of the pain after putting the antibiotics, nasal decongestion, then third one is also you can go for the drainage of the sinus by putting the trocar and cannula. Now, trocar and cannula is put over just below the inferior terminate and enter into the maxillary sinus to get all the secretion downward. So surgical intervention is required when there's no any minimal pain or there's no pain does not subside. In that condition, you will go for the trocar and cannula to get the pus out. Now, for the frontal sinusitis, if you see the frontal sinus, the sinus septum, the frontal sinus, pain in the forehead, in acute sinusitis, pain is much more in the forehead. Then edema of the upper eyelid. In frontal sinusitis, edema of the upper eyelid. In maxillary sinusitis, edema of the lower eyelid. And in the ethmoidal sinusitis, edema of the both upper eyelid as well eyelid. This. Now, frontal sinusitis, you see this is the sinus where there's edema of the pain in the forehead. Now here you must see because this frontal sinus opened into the middle meatus through the frontonasal duct. Frontonasal duct. So when patient is in supine position during the night, there is the stagnation of the secretion because the cilia does not work during the sleep. But early in the morning when patient awakes, then he moves and then there's the pull of the gravity over the frontal sinus and then there's ciliary movement. So whatever the secretion which are present in the frontal sinus, they get down into the nasal cavity at the time of about 2 p.m. So early in the morning, there is the pain in the frontal sinus with passage of time at about 2 or 4 p.m. Patients pain subside. So this is known as office headache. Office headache means pain in the early in the morning and subside during the 2 p.m. or 4 p.m. So that's why its name is office headache. We call it office headache because during the night patient is in supine position and the supine position there is the stagnation of secretion. Cilia does not work properly during the night, so this stagnation causes the pain or the pressure over the nerve endings. With the passage of time, early in the morning, patient walks. There's a pull of gravity over the sinus, and then nasopharyngeal duct get open, and all the secretion come into nasal cavity. And this in this way, patient's pain is subside. So patient always complain there is the office headache. Then how you will relieve the pain from patient? Number first, again you have to go the for nasal decongestant to get the nasopharyngeal duct open. Nasal decongestant. Number two, then go for the antibiotics. If there's no any resolution of this sinus septum, then you go for certain surgical maneuvers. One is the how trephination, just open the frontal sinus, get down all the secretions. What we have discussed, that is the what is the sinusitis. Sinusitis means the acute inflammatory process involve one or more of the paranasal sinus. This is acute sinusitis. Acute sinusitis means sign symptom do persist for about 3 weeks. So this is acute sinusitis involvement of the inflammatory process over the mucosa of the sinus. And complications are there is the 5 to 10%. I mean, the complications are there. We will discuss the complication in the next lecture, but here we will discuss only the sinusitis and management of the sinusitis. Now usually the sinusitis followed by the rhinitis, which is the viral infection or the allergy. Allergy means when there is a patient sensitive, like the dust, the pollens, the greenery, whatever the allergens, that one, which also hamper the cilia and the nasal cavity, which causes the stagnation and secretion. So this is the two terms which are very, very important. That is ventilation and drainage. Ventilation and drainage. There will be no drainage when cilia does not work. There's no ventilation when the ostia of the sinuses are closed one. So you have to look over the cilia and number two over the ostium. Now second one, you see the pressure, like the air plants during diving or dental extraction also cause inflammation of the sinuses, which causes the edema of the mucous membrane lining the sinuses. Now the inflammation, which we have discussed again, that when there's inflammation of the mucosa, which is, it hampers the drainage. Drainage is very, very important. Mucosal drainage is very, very important. It is a stagnation of this drainage mucosal secretion into the sinus, which invites the bacteria and causes the pus formation. So drainage is very, very important, and drainage does not take place when cilia of the nasal cavity does not work. Drainage does not occur when the opening of the sinus is closed one. So these are the two pathology. You have to look over. If you open the sinus through its normal passage or another passage, the drainage and ventilation means there's a treatment as well as you have to remove the pathology with one arrow. That is the only you have to make the passage. Now this postnasal drip. Postnasal drip is very, very important. When the cilia does not work, the stagnation of secretion into the nasopharynx go downward because it is inflammatory one and goes to the throat and sometimes to the larynx causes laryngitis. There is severe laryngitis. Patient is presented with the sore throat. Patient is presented with the change in the voice. Patient is presented with hoarseness of voice, and this pathology lies in the sinus. Now the pathology of sinus, number first, postnasal drainage, causes laryngitis, pharyngitis, hoarseness of voice, and number two is the spread of the inflammatory material through the submucosal lymphatic spread. Submucosal lymphatic spread. This is also very, very important. In some mucosal lymphatic spread, inflammatory material is spread from the sinus through the submucosal spread through the pharynx to the larynx. So here the pathology lies in the sinus, but the sign symptoms of the larynx, the laryngitis, hoarseness of the voice. Now the predisposing factors, allergens in the environment. Dust is there, the fumes of vehicles and the pollens of the trees are there. So these are allergens. Number two, nasal deformities there, like the DNS, deflected nasal septum. Cystic fibrosis is the disease where the cilia does not work. Polyp, there is the edema of the mucous membrane, and then the HIV, which causes the low immunity of the patient. Now the cold weather, the cold weather hampers the movement of the cilia. So you have to keep the moist air into the nasal cavity. Colder, then the high pollen count in case of when the allergen season is there, especially March and April, where you have much more amount of pollen from the trees. Then smoking in the home. Smoking, because in the smoking you have the nicotine. Nicotine is the major factor which causes the impairment of the ciliary movement, because cilia is much more needed for the secretion to go down to the nasopharynx. Again, this nicotine which is present in your smoke, this also causes the edema of the ostia. Ostia means opening of the sinuses. So sinus opening is closed one and causes the sinusitis. So smoking is very, very hazard one and causes the production of the sinusitis. due to the stagnation of secretion and blockage of the rastia. Acute sinusitis, then how acute sinusitis turn into the chronic sinusitis. Now, acute sinusitis, respiratory symptoms last for more than 10 days or less than 30 days. If the sign symptoms, suppose the sign symptom make the sinusitis, patient is presented with the pain over the face area, over the frontal area, or in case of the major sinusitis, patient has the pain over the rolling of the eyeballs, or in the case of the spinal sinusitis, patient has the pain over the vertex of the head. So these are the certain the sign symptoms of the sinusitis. If they go beyond the 10 days but less than 30 days, then you can say it is a acute sinusitis. So sign symptoms which last less than 30 days, this is acute sinusitis. Then you have the subacute sinusitis. Now, when the sign symptom means the pain or the anosmia or the postnasal drip like the cough, or there's the office headache is there or pain over the vertex, they do persist beyond the 30 days, then you will call as a subacute sinusitis. Subacute sinusitis. Then, if the sign symptoms do persist longer than 120 days, so this is the 30 days is very important. 30 days is very important. Sign symptoms below 30 days, you will label as acute sinusitis. Sign symptoms between 30 days and the 120 days, you will label as a subacute sinusitis, and sign symptom beyond 120 days, you will label as a chronic sinusitis. Now, difference between acute sinusitis and chronic sinusitis, the sign symptoms are very, very aggressive. Patient has excruciating pain, patient will cry for the pain, and there is the cough will be there. But in case of the chronic sinusitis, there is mild symptom. Only there will be this mild nasal stuffness and discomfort will be only there. There will be no severe pain. Severity of the pain is only in the acute sinusitis, whereas severity of pain does not lie in the chronic sinusitis. And chronic sinusitis, it is very, very difficult to diagnose because signs symptoms are very, very minimal. If you see in the nasal cavity, then this is very important. You will see the purulent discharge in the nasal cavity. Only sign in the chronic sinusitis is the purulent nasal discharge in the nasal cavity. Otherwise, in the acute sinusitis, you must see in acute sinusitis there is a mucopurulent discharge in nasal cavity. There is secretion from the mucous membrane, but in case of the chronic sinusitis, you have the purulent nasal discharge because mucous glands, the goblet glands has been destroyed by the disease. So this is very important. In chronic sinusitis, the discharge in the nasal cavity will be purulent, very thick, white. Whereas in case of the acute sinusitis, discharge will be very thin. It is a mucopurulent. It has a mucoid element. Whereas in chronic sinusitis, it is totally purulent because of loss of the your mucous gland and the. So these 3 days, 10 days, 30 days up to 30 days, sign symptoms persist, acute sinusitis, and between the 30 days and 120 days, it is subacute sinusitis, and beyond the 120 days, it is a chronic sinusitis. Now, the etiology of the sinusitis, usually first initially there is a virus, followed by the bacteria. Initially, virus causes the edema of the nasal cavity, causes the dysmotility of the cilia, which causes stagnation of secretion into nasal cavity as well as the sinus. Now, this stagnation of the secretion invites the bacteria. Usually, bacteria are Streptococcus pneumoniae. Number two is the Haemophilus influenzae, and number three, the Margella catarrhalis. So Streptococcus pneumoniae, Haemophilus influenzae, and Margella catarrhalis, these are the organisms which usually found in the sinusitis. And because of the stagnation of secretion, you see again the stagnation of secretion, ventilation drainage is very, very important. Ventilation is drainage. If there's proper ventilation, there's no invitation of bacteria. If there's proper drainage, there is no proper the invitation of bacteria. So bacteria do come when there is no ventilation, no drainage. So usually bacteria are the Streptococcus pneumoniae, Haemophilus influenza, and Margzilla cattalis. Other causative organisms which are present but very minimal quantity. These are Streptococcus aureus, Streptococcus pyogenes, gram negative, and respiratory. Sometimes there are the anaerobic bacteria also there which are very dangerous, because of when the anaerobic bacteria are there, they are very foul smell. In acute sinusitis or chronic sinusitis, you does not have the foul smell until unless anaerobic bacteria are there. It also causes the foul smell. Now, when there the involvement of the bones are there, which also causes the foul smell. So two reasons behind the foul smell. Number first, anaerobic bacteria also causes the foul smell, and number two, when there's a bone involvement is there, also causes the foul smell. So foul smell in case of the sinusitis, two reasons. Number first, the presence of anaerobic bacteria. Number two, the involvement of the bone that causes the foul smell. Now the complications of the sinusitis, which is very again very important, and we have the time, we will discuss also there. Now the one is the orbital cellulitis or orbital abscess, the meningitis, brain abscess, intractable wheezing in children, asthma, cavernous sinus thrombosis or subdural. Now among them, this is very important. Cavernous sinus thrombosis and the orbital cellulitis is important. Now sometimes you will get the question, what is the difference between the orbital cellulitis and the cavernous sinus thrombosis? Orbital cellulitis and the cavernous sinus thrombosis. This is very important. What is difference between the orbital cellulitis and cavernous sinus? Now orbital cellulitis, it is usually in case of when there is involvement of ethmoid sinus, and you know the ethmoid sinus is present in the ethmoid labyrinth or the medial canthus of the eye. Whenever there is inflammation of the ethmoid sinus, it causes the pain in the orbit. Patient will come into the pain in the eye. Retroorbital pain will be there. Retroorbital the patients complain pain in the eyeball, pain in the rotation over the eyeball, and signs will be there, the edema of the upper eyelid and the edema of the lower eyelid. Both lids will be swollen in case of the ethmoidal sinusitis, and their major complication will be orbital cellular, very dangerous complication, because between the orbit and the nasal cavity you have one thin plate of the bone, that the lamina pepraea. Lamina pepraea is only the bone between the ethmoidal cells and the orbit. It forms the lateral boundary of the ethmoidal cells. So when there's breakdown of the lamina pepraea, which causes the orbital cellulitis, inflammation of the eyeball, and sometimes you follow the ophthalmoplegia, because the lateral rectus, medial rectus, and the upper and the superior rectus and medial rectus does not matter. These are the muscles which are present in the orbit. So orbital cellulitis is very important, and it's a complication of the ethmoidal sinusitis. Then this is cavernous sinus thrombosis, which is again very important. It is complication of the spinal air cell. Ethmoid sphenoid air cell is present in the body of the sphenoid. It is rarely involved. It is very rare involved, and its opening is in the sphenoid cells. Sphenoid is the opening where you have the opening of the sphenoid air cells. Its involvement is very, but once it is involved, it has a much more complication. The cavernous sinus is the sinus. Sinus means it is the veins of the brain have been dilated. So cavernous sinus, it is the sinus which is present on the lateral wall of the cavernous, or you see the sphenoid air cell. So when the sphenosinusitis, it's sign symptoms of the pain in the vertex region, pain in the vertex region of the skull. So when there's inflammation which causes the cavernous sinus, this causes thrombosis. Now this is very important, because later on again you have the third cranial nerve, you have the fourth cranial nerve, you have the sixth cranial nerve, which causes paralysis of these, and then there's edemosis of eyeball. Eyeball becomes very black in nature, involves the eyeball. So very dangerous situation, very dangerous situation, and then you have to get this remedy to save of the life of the patient. Now,
गुड्डा होला
at yet, please close down your mic. So what happens in cavernous sinus thrombosis? You have to put the patient over the certain antibiotics, which are very broad spectrum antibiotics, and then you have to open the cavernous sinus. You have to open the spinal air cells to make drainage. Very, very important is cavernous sinus thermosis. 88, please close down your mic. 88, please close down your mic. You are making disturbances. Now, the subject symptoms, history of the allergy will be there, history of the upper respiratory patient there. Now, if you press the frontal sinus, patient will feel pain. If you press the maxillary sinus, patient will feel pain. And in case of the frontal sinusitis, the pain is increased after noon. Then there will be the body ache will be there, the low grade temperature because of release of the parogens from the which causes the cough is due to post-nasal drip which causes the laryngitis. And this cough worsens during the night because cilia does not work during the sleep. And then there's mouth breathing will be snoring because of the muscles of pharynx moves during the expiration because of the nasal stubbornness. So the with sore throat, bad breath will be there. Now bad breath will be there because of constant nasal the drip which becomes infected and causes the bad breath. Headache will be there because headache will be because you know the all the sinus they keep the weight of the skull very light. So when there's blockage of the osteas, secretion is accumulated into the sinuses, which causes the headache. Now the clinical presentation of the every now periorbital edema is there, and you know periorbital edema is always in the ethmoidal sinusitis, then cellulitis is there. Cellulitis again when there is the mixed sinusitis which causes the cellulitis. Nasal mucosa when you see through the anterior endoscope is very red and swollen. The percussion of the mixed sinus or the frontal sinus patient will feel the pain. Then there will be nasal discharge which will be the yellow or green color because of the infection of various organisms. Post-nasal discharges were there, which causes the pharyngitis, cough, which is aggravated during the night because of the ciliary dismovement. Difficult transillumination. Transillumination test is when we ask the patient to close, put the light into the oral cavity, ask the patient to close oral cavity, and when the light comes over the maxillary sinus means it is working. If the light does not come over the maxillary sinus means it is very hazy. Swelling of the terminates, bogey pill terminates because of the stimulation of the erectile tissues. This is the edema. The of the usually this is the diagnostic test. Imaging studies are there such as radiographs, paranasal sinuses. You can go for the ultrasonography. Even you go for the CT scan. CT scan is indicated whenever there is a bony involvement, pain is very excruciating, foul smell is there, and the patient does not respond to the antibiotics. Then CT scan is advised. Now, differential diagnosis, these are certain like allergic rhinitis, non-allergic rhinitis, infectious rhinitis, drug-induced rhinitis, nasal polyp, dental abscess, carcinoma of sinus, cluster headache, structural defects like the DNS and nasal foreign body. And there are certain drugs which we give in the acute sinusitis like the amoxicillin, azithromycin, and the paracetamol is there. And this is the how you would educate the patient. Avoid allergy triggers antihistamines or nasal corticosteroids give them. Eat fruits and vegetables, reduce the stress, wash hands and maintain hygiene, avoid smoke and pollution hydration. These are the guidelines. Instruct patient to call in 48 hours if condition of the child is not improved. Instruct parent to bring child in for recheck in 2 weeks. And these are the child with complications, signs of invasive infection, child need control of allergic rhinitis, child with chills and fever, child with persistent headache with edema or eyelids. Then you must go toward the evaluation part to the ENT surgeon. Thank you very much.